All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond Identity's newest webinar, Protecting Hybrid Work, a guide to unmanaged device security. I'm Kasha. I'm a product marketing manager here at Beyond Identity and excited to have Daniele here as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniele, product manager here at Beyond Identity. I follow most closely the endpoint team, so it's very close to the theme of this webinar.
Awesome. So, getting right into it, talking about the risks of hybrid work, specifically unmanaged devices, because for an average organization, depending on what industry you're in, you can have a device fleet that looks something along these lines where you have a bunch of managed devices. Those are pretty secure. They have MDMs on it, EDRs on it. Great, fabulous. Then we also have mobile devices coming into play because now employees want to work on the go, work while they're traveling, check in on their emails, their Slacks, their team notifications. Then there's also uh, devices from other companies that are accessing your applications, such as partners or contractors that might have like an MDM or an EDR already on that device, but that doesn't mean it's managed by you. It's managed by some other policy, and therefore you don't really have visibility into the security of this device either, but they are accessing your applications. Then there's bring your own device, such as contractors, freelancers. A lot of the times they work for themselves. They might not have an MDM and EDR on it. They might have some like basic firewall antivirus on it. But again, they're not managed by you, and therefore you don't have visibility into them. And then lastly, there's this other category, again, depending on which industry you're in, you might have more or less of these. Things like kiosks, shared terminals, lab equipment, that again are hard to have security protocols on, and again, more difficult to enforce and protect. And so these unmanaged devices, typically the ones on the left-hand side, have a couple of blind spots and risks associated to them, specifically that even with VPNs or MFA, they remain outside of IT's control, creating security gaps. Even with Verizon's DBIR from 2025, they clearly mention that 46% of the systems compromised with an infostealer that had possible corporate login data were from non-managed devices. So the reliance on stealable credentials to secure unmanaged devices is ultimately not working. We're going to see that on the next slide too when I talk a little bit about recent attacks with LastPass and Uber that did use stolen credentials on unmanaged devices to get access. And then lastly, BYOD isn't optional anymore. The security and IT teams a lot of times have their hands tied because they need to allow these devices to get access, but employees and contractors will get around some security protocols just to be able to, continue productivity outside of the workplace. And so, like I mentioned, there are a couple of recent incidents that exploited unmanaged devices. So, with Disney, an employee's personal computer was compromised, likely by downloading a game with malware on it. And ultimately, it led to 1.3 terabytes of internal data that was leaked, including login credentials, APIs, proprietary content, code. And then with Uber and LastPass, we have a little bit more information on these had to do with, stealing credentials, social engineering. In the case of Uber, an attacker tricked an employee into approving an MFA push from an unmanaged device, leading to internal systems, dashboards, and Slack channels that were fully compromised and exposing sensitive financial data and code repositories. And then lastly, with LastPass, attackers installed keylogging malware on a personal devices and captured the engineer's credentials for a corporate vault that contained decryption keys, something that is extremely valuable, which ultimately resulted in exposed encrypted vaults and unencrypted user metadata and $15 million in confirmed cryptocurrency theft. So we can really see how these used, social engineering and credentials to really get the attack through. And that really begs the question of like MFA isn't enough to secure unmanaged devices. Attackers are bypassing it to get into the systems. And so it really begs the question, how do you secure unmanaged devices without invasive tools like MDMs, EDRs that end users will typically protest against so they don't have them on their personal devices? So yeah, gonna transition it over to Daniele to go through the 5 capabilities to secure unmanaged devices. Daniele, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, that is the big question. How do you secure those unmanaged devices? And we took a very principled approach to this, and we're gonna break down the 5 principles and the 5 capabilities that are necessary. We believe are necessary to do a good job at this. You see that there's some overlap across of these, obviously, but we try to categorize them in such a way as to make this as clear as possible, how we thought about the problem and how we attacked it and how we solved it. First and foremost, you can't secure what you can't see. So establishing visibility is the first priority here. What you can do with managed devices is to install heavy applications that do a lot of heavy lifting, right, to collect information. So we're talking about EDRs and MDMs. Those are not an option on managed devices. And so our approach starts with an extremely lightweight, privacy-preserving authenticator. So we have to establish pattern of installing an authenticator application on the endpoint, and we're just following through with that. This gives us essential visibility on those endpoints, and it lets you anchor every single access to the resources you want to protect, with the knowledge of which device is accessing those. Second point is now that we have a presence on the endpoint and we have that visibility, the next step is to understand what the actual security posture of the device is. This isn't just a simple check to determine what OS it is running, but instead it's as I mentioned before, it's a fine-grained posture evaluation. The interesting comparison to MDMs is that instead of what's the right word here? Instead of giving you an overview of the fleet with snapshots in time, that then you can consult and get an idea of what your inventory looks like. What we do is to collect this posture, security posture information right when we grant access. And so this is real time, and it's very fine grained. We can ask questions about whether a certain device is jailbroken or not, whether it's running apps that have known security vulnerabilities, whether the passkeys used to authenticate are hardware backed and device bound. These are just some of the characteristics that we can collect, and we have a long list of features that can be customized as well. That's for posture. And then what do you do with posture, right? The visibility and evaluation are great, but you got to be able to act on them. And this is where our policy engine comes into place. The key here is that enforcement doesn't rely on legacy ideas of how you define your perimeter. We don't look at the VPN. We don't look at whether you're on a corporate network. You can add those signals, but that's not where it's at. And so what we use is hardware-attested device identity. As I mentioned before, that knowledge of which device is trying to access your resources is very important. And we can provide cryptographic proof that a specific device is requesting access. So this high integrity signal allows us to enforce access policies with confidence, and we enrich those decisions with all the characteristics and security posture information that we've collected. Now, when you are dealing with managed devices, since you're the owner, you decide which machines you want to provide to your workforce, which OSs you want to cover. And this assumption breaks when you're dealing with managed devices. with unmanaged devices, right? With the in the bring your own device scenario, you don't really have control over that. So it is critical that any solutions that tries to bring security to these unmanaged devices cover all possible platforms, and that's what we do. We cover Windows, Android, Mac, all flavors of iOS. We cover even Chrome OS and Linux. So we got you covered there. Last but not least, we don't want to make security assessments and trust assessments only at one point in time. Security isn't a one-time event at login. So a device that is secure at 9 a.m. might be compromised at 10 a.m. So legacy system check your posture once, and then after they trust the device, that trust is established for an entire session. And we believe that's a big risk. So to close this gap, we introduce continuous monitoring. Our system and our policy continuously evaluates device security and the device security posture through the entirety of the session, so that if there's any security relevant change to the posture, say a firewall has been disabled, or an app with a security vulnerability is being installed on the device, then you can instantly act on it and revoke access.
Awesome. Are you
Okay,
ready to see
time
a
for a
demo?
demo. Time for a demo. Let me set this up here. All right, here we go. All right, so I have a test tenant here on the right side of my laptop, and I'm gonna log into the admin console. This is passwordless authentication. Here we are. So this is a tenant that I created for this demo. I'm gonna go check the policy for a second, and you see that I have a few rules here. The first rule, I called it jailbreak. It's looking for iOS platform, and if that platform, if that phone, say, is running is jailbroken, then we just issue a deny. Then I have a second rule here. That's the one that I want to showcase. And keep in mind that I'm trying to show a very simple example here, just to show that we have visibility into exactly which devices are managed or not. And then you can build custom rules that target specifically those unmanaged devices. So the ruling case here is what if a platform is iOS and this this platform is not managed by Jamf, which is what we use internally, then monitor access in this case. And then we'll show you what happens when we instead issue a deny instead of a monitor on this policy. Okay, let me try it. I'm going to switch to my phone. I'm going to try to authenticate to the same tenant here, to the admin console. The authentication is using our Safari extension, which makes it very fast. And you can see that I just popped in easily. No issues here. So let me log out and go back to the policy design page here. I'm going to go and edit it. And I'll pick the second rule, which is the one that pertains to managed devices. And as you can see, you have several options here. I could, just to showcase very briefly, this is just a few of the integration that you can pick information from. For example, if you had Falcon, you would have you could use Falcon zero trust assessment score to make a decision on access or not. But let's focus just on managed and managed devices. So in this case, I want to deny access to the admin console when access is being attempted from an unmanaged device. So I'm going to switch this rule from monitor to deny. Save it. I'm going to publish the changes. Okay, here we are. Let's see. If I did this right, then I wouldn't be able to access now from my phone. So let's give it a try. Okay, there you go. Now we got a deny. You can see up there, top left in the screen in red, that we also sent a custom message with this deny event, which tells the user that access requires a managed device for this specific application. So let's go see a few more things about this. If I go to events, I can see the events here. The policy deny in particular. Let's double click, take a closer view. And this pane opens on the right. There's a lot of information here, including the full JSON payload that describes the transaction. But the one thing that's interesting, especially when understanding the policy that you put in place, is to go to matched rule and take a peek at the evaluation. This lets you look at the guts of our policy and engine and understand exactly what happened. And in particular, at the very top here, it shows which rule was matched of all the rules that you might have defined, and this highlight in red points out that the outcome was a deny with the display of this custom message that we've seen. So that's really it for the demo. I hope this showcases that gives you a little glimpse of the power of our policy engine and the type of information that we can glean from managed and unmanaged devices, which is quite the differentiator of our solution.
Yeah, and even with the event logs, it's great for compliance, readiness, audits, to be able to
Absolutely.
see what actually happened during an authentication request, during a deny, or during an accept, what actually went down and what was the posture of the device when it actually happened. So that's great to see. And then also like the
Absolutely.
different kind of policies you can use too. So not just if it's jailbroken, but if it's rooted, and then maybe even like if it's a Jamf unmanaged device, then does it require some like step up authentication? Does it need, like a biometric, Face ID approval before granting access, which is something that can't be spoofed, can't be stolen. So thank you
Exactly.
for
Yeah, we
the
could go on hours here talking about our policy, but I think that's the topic for another webinar. But definitely the
exactly.
power is there. There's a lot of course, the customization on our end, but also if you don't want to spend the time doing that customization, our engineers can help you set that up for you.
Yeah. And so the point of all of this, of those capabilities and the demo that Daniele just showed us is, the goal is to eliminate account compromises, to achieve zero account compromise through identity-based attacks, because that's the pathway attackers are typically taking through unmanaged devices, still stealing credentials and gaining access through these devices that typically have fewer security tools on them. So, with these capabilities, the following attacks are impossible, such as phishing, push bombing, brute force, credential stuffing, credential reuse, token replay, device spoofing, social engineering. These things, even through unmanaged devices, can be made impossible. And so, at the end of the day, through this little visual on the right hand side, the attackers are trying to target all of these applications that, at the end of the day, house your data, your code, your confidential IP, and they're going through tricking users and going through different types of devices to get access to these. And so if you verify the user and verify a trusted and secure device, you can then protect all of these applications on the right hand side from all of these attacks. And lastly, just like a quick customer success story. So, one of our customers is Snowflake, and they use Beyond Identity to secure their applications like Gmail, Salesforce, Slack, and all of their other applications in their SSO. And they've actually built a policy where you either have to have a Snowflake laptop, so one that has, the MDM EDR already installed on it, or it's approved and a secure device. So even if it's unmanaged, is it not jailbroken? Is it not rooted? So on and so forth, before you can actually connect to the SSO, and then continuously as you use the SSO and all the applications in it. So thank you. Hope you learned a lot today about hybrid work and unmanaged device security and all of the capabilities to secure it. Get a personalized demo at beyondidentity.com/demo to get that personalized demo. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.